Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for a wonderful and dynamic day. First of all, Madam Vigdis, thank you for letting us have this in your house, Verald, which means the world. A beautiful house with a very loud door, as we have learned. I also want to congratulate Havdi on the forceful and dynamic speakers that we've been experiencing today. I was here this morning. I couldn't be in the breakout. My breakout was at a different place. But we heard Tavakoi Karman with her strong message that peace has to be founded in justice and fight against oppression. On a maybe more grim or note from one of my favorite organizations in the world, Medicine Sans Frontiers, we had heard Unni Krishnan Karankara go through the humanitarian work and the challenges it faces. And it was, to me, mind-blowing to realize, because what you're saying is true, is that we are getting used to serious breaks of international humanitarian law when it comes to bombing of hospitals and humanitarian aid workers. And what is amazing is that we are very used to the dialogue about how the world has shrunk and now we don't have as many bad things because you can see them on Twitter, but this is happening here and now. I admire your work, and we have to at least start with the discourse of how to change this tide. But today, I mean, it's hard to get through a day of talking about peace without putting into words the feeling that a nuclear war could be started on Twitter in the coming weeks. And it's a fearful thought, but it can happen. And I actually and fully realized this until Sigmar Gabriel came here, because the news had been all about Germany owing to NATO billions of dollars in increased arms. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Baltic states were having a meeting in Reykjavi, and he wanted us to open up Havdi house for him, which was very welcome on our behalf. And he said that I wanted to meet the German press here because through all the discussions of a whole year, we have not spoken about disarmament. Everybody is talking about how the world needs more weapons and more money for war and weapons, and who owes whom what in that field, but not about disarmament. And I thought it was a very strong message, and I even felt that to name a peace center after Havdi really was underlined there, because you have to think, when you're a mayor in Reykjavik and in the small country of Iceland, and you're talking peace, you really at times question, so what on earth can we provide for the discussion and the change we need in the world? But maybe a little house, maybe an inspiration, or a whole room full of people that give ideas, steal ideas, go home, think about it, and give out a strong message at home and wherever they go next. Because I know you guys travel. And that's why you're very welcome. That's why we really cherish listening at what you are saying. And I'm very proud of the small Höfði Peace Center that is thinking big, growing fast, and wants to make its voice heard in the world. And I celebrate that you have got this together and got those people here together. Because I think we're all richer after this day, and I think that we should give them all a big hand. I'm not gonna say all your names, but I think Faten Mahid Al-Husseini left a very strong memory, and you struck a chord in her heart talking about your own experience. I asked her when walking down, were you born in Oslo? And the reason is very kind of selfish, because I was born as an immigrant in Oslo. My parents from Iceland were studying there, so I was an Icelander born there. But of course, and people laugh, we never think of ourselves within the Nordic countries as immigrants in our own countries, kind of in Scandinavia, within the countries. And Icelanders have a very hard time pressing that forward in the Scandinavia, that somebody should see them or talk about them as immigrants. But that's actually a very strong point and goes back to what meaning we put into borders. Are we just using borders when we are talking about people that really need to come? Or because we are very open to open borders when it's somebody like us that are just coming for a visit or a study or a stay or even a lifetime if it's somebody from Scandinavia. So I think you have a very challenging question when you asked us, as you asked the Norwegian politicians, am I a Norwegian if I'm wearing the hijab? And that is one of the questions I'm going to take with me, and I think it's important. We all, of course, think we know a lot about Norway and being a young Muslim in Norway because we all watched Scam. But thank you very much for that. As Pia mentioned, we, on the note, maybe close to what Georgian Campbell Flatter was talking about, look at opportunities in entrepreneurship and young people, and want to do, you could call it an experience or a social entrepreneurship in itself. The Höfði Peace Center is starting an accelerator that we hear more connected to technologies or conventional startups, but it's going to be a peace startup for people with great ideas that can affect the world or local communities or people's heart to further the cause of peace in the world. Yeah. Well, of course we are about to see what happens, but at least I'm excited, and I think it's both a kind of original idea, but an interesting one. And why not? At least this has been a startup with Höfði, but also with all kinds of peace activities. Only the last 3 days, we've received the Peace Boat with a newly granted Nobel how do you say it? Laureate? It's one of these very complex words. For the work of making a contract against nuclear weapons, banning them. And already 122 nations have signed, lacking a lot of nations, Iceland being one of them. And yesterday, Yoko Ono was here, and some of you were with us in Höfði and Viðey in pouring rain, where the Imagine Peace Tower was lit. And Höfði Peace Center comes into all these projects, and now this forum, and will continue to do so. I will continue to follow what you're doing, and I will support you in any way I or the city can. I'm also very grateful for the cooperation with the University of Iceland, but last but not least, with having all of you here today, exchanging views, changing opinions, minds and hearts, because that's where we have to start. So thank you for a very interesting, fruitful and good day. Thank you.